Hello everybody and welcome to SwindonSteam Comics. My name is Smiles a Critic and I'm a massive comic book fan, amongst other things of course. As Dad Bob revealed, he doesn't like Batman, whereas Batman is my all-time favourite, as evident by my own channel over here at Smiles Critical, where I play the Arkham verse including Arkham Origins in chronological order, so hop over there to check it out. But now it's time to hop over to comics. I have many favourite superheroes and villains, my most favourite being the Batman. However, I have more than one comic book character that I enjoy, and this is my list. There's 5 entries, starting with the Batman. My love for Batman as a character stems from the Batman series. There I was introduced to a character named Bruce Wayne, or the Batman. Eventually I watched the amazing animated series and spanned the Arkhamverse games. Batman as a character is interesting with there being endless versions of him and in some cases her. Across the multiverse there's many versions of him, some being Arkham Batman, Pirate Batman, Injustice Batman, and then the more evil versions like the Batman Who Laughs. A deadly combination of Batman's martial arts, intelligence and willpower, mixed with Joker's sinister madness and unpredictability. Batman may be powerless, but his ninja abilities, martial arts and intelligence make him equal to pretty much any foe, outmatch, more specifically outsmart any enemy and friend alike. One other ability could be his unwilling to trust anyone 100%, even his closest allies being the Justice League or even Robin. Because of this, the Dark Knight has always had a backup plan. For example, if Batman was ever to go rogue, Batman has a way to take him down, or anyone else in the Justice League, or at the very least weaken them. Now this has also put strain on his relationship with other heroes and villains alike, whereas the heroes who are supposed to be his friends feel betrayed by him for not telling them. More of a common example is Batman's ability to hack Cyborg's cybernetic suit. That's like a tongue twister, fucking hell. Which he's done numerous times. As said before, he's an expert martial artist capable of creating his own. Trained by the League of Shadows, he has skills of a literal ninja. Being able to maneuver completely undetected by even the most elite mercenaries, soldiers, thugs, and even metahumans. Despite being a horror to the GCPD in his early years, the Batman of the present has their respect and admiration, earning him partnerships with, most famously, Commissioner Gordon, Aaron Cash in the Arkhamverse, and Ellen Yin from The Batman. Along with his martial arts, intelligence and allies, his greatest power is money. Being a billionaire, he can afford endless gadgets and vehicles. His willpower alone is strong enough to defeat even Superman, his best friend, and numerous others. It just goes to show how a man with no powers can defeat and lead superheroes. So in my mind, Batman is, in my opinion, one of the greatest, because he doesn't have any powers at all. He could just do it because of his willpower, and he doesn't need powers like flight, super speed, or he doesn't need super strength. He's just a man, and that's what makes him great in my opinion. He can just do it because he's, well, Batman. The next is my next favourite character. A brand new villain, a combination of Batman and the Joker, a mixture of Joker's personality and Batman's memories, skills and intelligence. His name is the Batman Who Laughs, a demon-like criminal from Universe -22 of the Dark Multiverse. He was introduced by the Batman Metal event when he was lieutenant to Barboss's army, who's the Bat God, and the leader of the Dark Knights, all the alternate versions of Batman. The origins of this Batman were the same as the Prime Earth Batman. He took on psychics and formed alliances like the Prime Earth Batman. He was also the only member of the Justice League to oppose Lex Luthor's membership into the League. In this universe, the Joker was particularly brutal, more so than usual. It brings to question, what would Batman's mind be like in this universe? Everything was the same as Prime Earth up until a certain point. The event was the Joker's attack. a night when Joker started a killing spree across Gotham, murdering every single one of Batman's enemies and countless civilians. He melted Commissioner Gordon's face off, killing him too, and then after paralysing Batman temporarily, he blew up a hospital, and to add a cherry on top, he shot dead the parents of many young children before injecting them with Joker toxin. Eventually Batman could move. He was traumatised and angry. He had Joker by his throat and broke his neck. However, Joker was already dying from the chemicals that created him. One of these toxins rested in his heart, which would infect anyone close to him. Unfortunately, this time it was Batman. The process was slow to begin with. The other Justice League members noticed trauma but no physical damage. Superman passed the news that the Joker toxin affected kids were taken by Star Labs. Merely a day later, the Bat family were training in the Batcave, and Bruce's condition worsened. They offered their help, which he promptly refused and said he didn't want help, only to surprise them by shooting them all dead. He convinced Damian to join him by infecting him with Joker venom, turning him into demonized Robin he is now. He then retrieved the Jokerized children and turned them into his own personal army of pet Robins. It didn't take long, merely a week, before the Justice League was slaughtered by Batman. He used weapons Justice League had stored over the years. So the weapons which were stored in the Justice League vault are from all their previous enemies and encounters. He had two particular cruel ends for Supergirl and Superman, both of which the Batman Who Laughs enjoyed immensely. He used black kryptonite to drive Supergirl into a frenzy and kill her own family before dying. On the Watchtower, Superman was cornered by kryptonite gas before Lois and John, his son, were brought before him. Superman refused to lie to his family, and so Batman threw a black shard of kryptonite towards the Kryptonians. Superman and his son ripped Lois apart and died themselves. Bruce was officially the Batman Who Laughs. Earth's people rebelled, but they too fell, leaving only the Batman Who Laughs and his Robins left on his world. Alfred resisted for a time, but was soon driven insane. Soon as his world began to fade from existence, the Bat-God Barbatos recruited him as his lieutenant, leading us onto the metal event. The Batman Who Laughs is a specific example for what would happen if Batman was somehow transformed into the Joker. It's an interesting concept. One of them I enjoyed very much. Next up is Ultraman from Earth 3, a copy of Superman of Prime Earth. He's the last son of Krypton on Earth 3 and leader of the crime syndicate. Ultraman, in my opinion, deserves a lot more attention than he gets. Yet, yes, he's in LEGO Supervillains and Forever Evil and the animated movie Crisis on Two Earths, but he deserves more. He deserves a lot more. I think him having more encounters with Superman would be more interesting, but that's just me. Ultraman was born on the dying planet of Krypton, where his father's activities gained the unwanted attention of the Anti-Monitor, arguably the most powerful character in DC. I don't know much about him, to be honest with you, but I know he's arguably the most powerful. Being his father's last chance for revenge, Ultraman was sent into space, where he found himself on direct course with Earth. His pod crashed into a town named Smallville, specifically into the home of the toxic couple Johnny and Martha Kent. Ultraman gained strength from the remnants of his planet that surrounded him, the remnants being green kryptonite. Being only a child, he ordered the couple to raise him, which only lasted until he was 7, at which he killed them and burned their home. Over the next few years, he took the name Ultraman and began pursuing his dream of taking over the world. He murdered the US president and formed the crime syndicate, becoming Earth's overlords. All ended when the Anti-Monitor arrived at their Earth, easily obliterating the universe, throwing Ultraman into a limbo. along with Lois, or Superwoman, his wife. And it's also good to mention here that Lois, Ultraman's wife, was having an affair with Owlman. So in reality, it's quite funny that Owlman was getting that S when Ultraman could literally just punch Owlman to death. Whatever. So the Syndicate just disappear after that. They disappear. They're gone in limbo. But they will return in Forever Evil. Ultraman is an exceptionally powerful villain that gains power by absorbing kryptonite radiation. He can eat it or inhale it, and in some cases snort it. Where his weaknesses are vulnerable to sunlight and green kryptonite depletion, Ultraman's powers would fade and even kill him. Ultraman is a cruel, vile alien, the exact opposite of Superman's personality, the ruler of Earth 3, but in my opinion he's interesting if delved further into. On to our next character from outer space. The Orange Lantern Larfleeze, also known as Agent Orange. The Lantern of Greed, arguably the most powerful lantern in the entire universe. Larfleeze in an entire Lantern Corps on his own, one of his aliases being the Orange God. Capable of summoning millions or even more constructs at once, these are people he killed. Larfleeze is terrifyingly powerful, giving any hero or villain a formidable opponent. There's only one Orange Lantern, however their corpse is not just one to be messed with. So Larfleeze is neutral, he doesn't like anyone, he doesn't hate anyone, he just wants to be left alone on his planet. Get more into that later. Larfleeze, for the most part, has his origins surrounded in mystery, which was due to the Guardians of the Universe. He himself revealed that his race were once farmers, and that his unfortunately was said to be ugly as a child, and subsequently mistreated by his parents and 16 siblings. His home planet was eventually invaded by Lacardians and conquered. Larfleeze was then forced to mate with a female inmate named Brokia, and thus had many children, but they were sent off to slavery. One day, he escaped using the routine incinerator cycle, hiding amongst a corpse cart full of his fellow slaves. Larfleeze clawed himself from the cart of the dead and led a revolt against the alien overlords. But of course there's numerous other accounts, for Larfleeze has spent millions of years debating within his own mind. So naturally there are many other accounts, one being a member of a group of 5 thieves who were ambitious and determined to pull off the greatest heist the universe has ever seen. The Guild of Thieves raided Maltus, which was once the centre of civilization 10 billion years ago. They lost one of their own, but was able to steal many treasures, a box and a map to be specific. The thieves stole one thing with almost endless worth, a box that supposedly contained Parallax, the sentient physical being embodiment of fear. They also had a map that belonged to the fallen Multisum Krona that said to hold something valuable. They made their way to Okara, the Orange Lantern's future base of operations. The planet was in the heart of the Vega system, a system outside of the Guardian's jurisdiction. Larfleeze in the present is extremely rigid with who goes in and out of his system. Any Green Lanterns who enter are at risk of triggering a war with Larfleeze and his literal billions of constructs. The thieves landed on the forest planet and entered the forbidden forest of weeds. Within that forest, another one of their own was killed by said forest. The remaining thieves fell into a forgotten temple where they discovered the orange power battery. Was it lucky or unlucky? The thieves were memorized by the glowing orange light the lantern emitted. The remaining thieves fought amongst themselves, sensing the disturbance, the Guardians, and a force of manhunters before they became psychotic, murderous robots. They headed towards the planet to root out what was happening. The orange light drained their power, with several being killed, The third member of the thieves died too, leaving only 2 thieves, Larfleeze and another. The Guardians took heavy losses, explained they only wanted the box and made a deal. They take the box, the 2 thieves kept the orange battery as long as it remained buried on Okara. They accepted the deal and fought to the death, making Larfleeze the victor, and thus the rise of the Orange Lantern. Larfleeze is a being of overwhelming power and greed. He defends the Vega system greedily, but is willing to allow movement through the system as long as they don't head towards Okara. Something the controllers did. They journeyed onto Okara and entered Larfleeze's palace, enraged by the violation of the treaty, which was made after a big war. Enraged by the violation, he killed the controllers and sent a hologram message to the Guardians, which would eventually explode into war. So what he did in that hologram message, he threatened them with war if they didn't bow down to his demands, which of course they didn't. So of course it exploded into war, and it was a war they didn't want. Larfleeze is immortal. He's lived on Okara for millions of years. He was 2 million years old during the Manhunter event, which happened billions of years ago. This long life has left him with mental illness and obsession, as well as a drive to satisfy his insatiable hunger for greed. It's a hunger he can't satisfy. However, it was revealed in his Christmas special, the only thing he truly wants, despite his greed, is his family, which is something tragically he can never get, because they're long dead. Finally, the next character, and the final one, Professor Pig, a serial killer who wears a pig mask and acts like one, literally murderous bacon. Now there isn't much about Pig from Prime Earth, and so info from the Arkhamverse shall be included. Professor Pig, his real name Laszlo Valentin, is a Hungarian-born serial killer that was a former agent of the UN organisation Spiral, and worked as their chemist, him being scientifically intelligent and gifted. He created many powerful drugs, one being a powerful mind-dampening drug that copies Alzheimer's disease. Laszlo was trapped, however, unable to escape the organisation, and so he caused a schizophrenic break and created his alternate personality as Professor Pig. Soon after escaping Spiral, he created the Circus of Strange, and not much is known after that. When the crime syndicate appeared on Prime Earth, it was thrown into chaos. Gotham City, being the home of many supercriminals, became heavily affected. The districts were divided between the Penguin, who was the mayor. Pig was given the hospital as his base of operations. His reign was cut short, however, when Bane and his army forced Pig to work for him instead, breaking his arm and killing his Dolatrons in the process. The comic version of Pig met his end in Batman in Bethlehem, where Pig and a few other members of the Circus of Strange have become prominent crime lords, but Pig is found dead by police without his mask and dead in a church crucified upside down. A fitting end for a serial killer with such disgusting acts, which you will learn about later on. Pig has a son. Now, excuse my pronunciation for this, it's Hungarian. János Valentin, who was defeated by Stephanie Brown, I think one of the Robins. His son used the name Son of Pig and was just as evil as his father. János' mother was in fact Pig's first victim, leading us onto Pig's many malicious crimes. Pig is malicious, using his knowledge to mutilate his victims. His motives are dark, Joker even quoting, "He's sicker than me and Harley's honeymoon tapes." He's conducted surgery on unnecessary, helpless victims, one being a tennis player whose arm was replaced by his leg, or his first crime as Pig being the mutilation of János' mother, which he did over time, and then killed her after spending months disfiguring her. Pig in the Arkhamverse has pretty much the same origins as the comics. After Snapping Pig travelled the country using the Circus of Strange to kidnap people, which would reappear during the Arkham Knight's Pig storyline as chained up victims. Unlike most villains of Batman, Pig's sanity will not return due to no particular hope of regaining sanity. Much of Pig's insanity originates from his abusive parents, most particularly his mother, which left him with a sense of deadly perfection, because she would always say that he wasn't perfect and how they essentially belittled him and just picked out his faults, which drove him over the edge. He listens to opera as he mutilates his patients. Here are his tapes.
The Circus of Strange is coming to a town near you. Never before has such a host of talented performers gathered in one place to amaze and entertain. Be astounded by Big Top. Is it a man? Is it a woman? Who knows? But I guarantee it's the most gigantically grotesque assortment of flesh you have ever seen. Be dumbfounded by the acrobatic oddity that is science. Stare open-mouthed as these conjoined triplets who defy the limits of the human body and its imagination. And last but by no means least, be stunned and horrified by the combustible wonder that is Phosphorus Rex. Folks, you gotta see it to believe it. Come and join us, and you'll never look at the world the same way again.
Janosch, my dearest son. Oh, my perfect child. I make these recordings so that you are not alone. So that you know Daddy loves his son. Daddy loves his little pig. The circus has traveled far, and we have brought joy to many sad people. They join us now like a big family, growing week by week. Now they feel no pain. They know nothing of misery. I call them my Dollartrons. To each new home we move at night, finding a fresh patch of earth to inhabit. Secret places in forgotten parts of town. Ugly wastelands where the locals stumble unawares into a candy-striped tent. The Dollartrons are the first to greet them with open arms and perfect faces. The climax of the show is when I take them to see Mother. Oh, I tell you, they are amazed by my imagination, confounded by my dexterity, as each is transformed into a beautiful work of art. But Mother is hard to please. She wants more, always more, never satisfied, always driving me to work harder to obtain perfection. And I will. Night has drawn its curtain yet again, and the circus moves on, our numbers swollen to a different patch of earth. On the dark horizon, the building tops glimmer, the heat and smog of industry shrouds a den of criminals and beasts. Gotham is her name. Janosch, I tell you, the circus has come home. My dear Janosch, it is time you learned the truth about your mother, your real mother. I remember not her name or how she found me, wallowing in that pit of despair. Oh, like an angel, she swept into my turvy world, dragged me, screaming, from shapeless chaos, and wrapped me in her arms. She was a beauty, Janosch, a masterpiece, perfect in every way, until Mother Goat found her. Imagine my horror when I emerged from that dreamy soup and discovered what she'd done. Placenta face, cork-on smile, ribbons of ruptured flesh. Ooh, the nails had done their work. my seed was already sown. Your life already begun. Mother would have killed you both had I not stopped her. Saved you from her rage. Day and night I worked, month after month, sculpting her loathsome clay to recapture the beauty that saved me that night. The night of your creation. She clung to me as you grew, as I toiled to make her right again. But nothing pleased Mother, Goat! Nothing. I did all I could to fix her, to make her perfect. But by the time you came along, I couldn't even look upon that spoiled canvas of her face. I couldn't let that be the face that greeted you in this world. I had to end it, Janos. For you. For Mother. She left me no choice.
Pig is a dangerous individual whose crimes and reputation sicken even other criminals. A man broken by his mother's constant belittling and obsessed with perfection. He's fascinating in my mind, and I enjoyed his inclusion in the Arkhamverse. Well, that's it. My favourite top 5 characters of DC. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you for next time. I know this is very rough. It's my first one I've done. Yeah. And I apologise for all the stuttering. I'm just a little bit, I'm just a little bit shit when it comes to reading. I hope to see you next time on SwindonSteam Comics. The information in this video isn't all the info about the characters, so I encourage you to research for yourself. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.